down in South Dakota in which you had a committee now that has been working for quite some time in the legislature to figure out whether or not moving forward and recommending the impeachment of the Attorney General and Jason Ravnsborg, who, if you recall, was distracted driving, veered off a lane, according to police reports, struck and killed somebody with his car, drove off, came back later on to discover that there was Mr. Bover was deceased in the ditch after he thought he hit a deer. You keep thinking about that family that has to continue to go through this every time there is a development or lack thereof in this situation. Now, why this committee was getting together to talk about impeachment is because they wanted to wait until the justice system did their role. And you know what? I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. They failed on the justice side of this. The no contest, the misdemeanors, all that. They slapped him on the wrist when it comes to fines, meaning Jason Ravnsborg. So I was hopeful. I really was that, in fact, the legislative process, that there would be some political courage to at least do, I think, what is the right thing and to remove him from being the chief law enforcement officer in the entire state of South Dakota. They failed at that also last night, for now. Not over yet, but the committee recommended that they do no contest of impeaching and removing Jason Ravnsborg from office, the same individual that got distracted driving and killed somebody with his car. So now here we are. Politics is getting injected into this, and to her credit, and you know how I've been hard on the policy decisions of Governor Kristi Noem in South Dakota, who I think has more of an eye outside of the state of South Dakota, maybe more so on Washington, and what her aspirations are. But she's been right on this all along, that he should have resigned, that he should have got a stronger penalty from the justice system, and then, since he didn't resign, that the legislature should have impeached him. She's been right. None of that has happened as of yet. I want your reaction as to what you heard and what you saw, and the fact that now you've got the legislature in South Dakota that's overwhelmingly from the Republican side, the same as Jason Ravnsborg, said, yeah, we just don't feel like he did anything that violated his oath to his office as the chief law enforcement officer in South Dakota. A message comes in that I think nails some of this in the way that I've been seeing it as well. So I want to thank some of these messages coming into the Eye Consultants of North Dakota Tax Club. Tyler, the Ravnsborg decision clearly demonstrates there are at least two different systems of justice. It also clearly shows justice is not immune to politics. And what about the sheriff who loaned Ravnsborg his car? Has he been investigated? If not, why not? The latter part about the sheriff, he's involved. He loaned the vehicle after Ravnsborg showed up with his damaged vehicle after he struck someone and drove away. Has he been investigated? Not that I'm aware of. Now, that doesn't mean during the time, and recall, North Dakota's law enforcement did some of this investigation on the early stages of this. So now, whether or not they question the sheriff and what he knew, I would hope that they did. But I don't recall off the top of my head. So if not, why not? I'm not sure if he was or not, so I can't address that. But, I mean, folks, you've been following along, especially if you're a regular listener of the show, because we've discussed it. The fact that the victim had a flashlight on and it was still on. So you're going to tell me you got outside of your vehicle after what you thought struck a deer. Now, I've been in vehicles that have struck deer. I never saw a flashlight being carried by a deer. Yeah, I've been in a vehicle that struck a deer, and never once were a pair of reading glasses then on the inside of the vehicle from the accident. Recall that during this process, when the video was coming out, and now there was people saying this video is going to taint some of it. Well, because we got to see his demeanor when he was questioned by investigators when they said, did you know that his glasses were in your vehicle? The sheer response, some of the inconsistencies in the story. Folks, doesn't take a rocket scientist here And unfortunately, to this date, as of now, justice still hasn't been served. Not for this family, not for Jenny, who was sitting in that committee room, who understandably broke down, whose mother had to console her as the lawmakers chose to not do anything with this. You know, Ravnsborg pleaded a no contest, got it down to 2 misdemeanors of distracted driving late August. I mean, think about all the times that, okay, you have seen somebody driving with their cell phone in their hands, and you know what, you get this ticket. Thankfully, most of those times doesn't result in somebody dying. When they do, there is so much more than just, you got a couple of misdemeanors here. More should have been done in the courtroom. And since the courtroom didn't, and quite frankly, it should have been done on the politics side of this. And it shouldn't matter if it's a Republican South Dakota Attorney General and a Republican-led legislature. This shouldn't be a partisan issue. In fact, the highest profile Republican in South Dakota is the one that's been the most forceful about this up until now. And the governor is saying he's got to go. Now, I don't have the authority, but lawmakers, you do. Do it. And they haven't. And for the life of me, I don't know why they're protecting this guy's political career. I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of more capable attorneys in South Dakota that are going to be able to fulfill the duties of the office as being the head person, man or woman, for the agency that's in charge of law enforcement, without violating the law, pleading down to a misdemeanor, and ending up having to kill somebody. It just seems that there are so many stones that have been turned over, you just don't like what you've seen under it, so we're going to look the other way and just hope that this all goes away, is the way that the legislature seems to be approaching this. It's not right. Tyler, Republicans condone horrible behavior from Trump. Why would South Dakota be any different? Another one asking, Tyler, didn't the sheriff pass on? I believe you are right. You know, right, reading that live on air, I do seem to recall that being the case. So there would be no way available to go and ask questions of that individual if that, in fact, is the case. And I want to thank you for reminding me of that. I do recall that being the case here. But the fact that you've got just another letdown in this situation of, you know, I mean, this is now at least the third opportunity where something could have been done. You know, I mean, you impeach, you remove, he never gets to run for office again. I mean, if you're a Republican in South Dakota, listen to me right now, in which I know there are, do you even want him as your attorney general? And if not, now's the time to start calling your lawmaker and say, look, what are you doing when you're getting back out there? Because there's going to be one more opportunity for the legislature to get together, get in that room, and push a button on whether or not they want to keep this guy as the attorney general or remove him. And I bet you if you go to any small town, hell, I don't even care. You can go to Sioux Falls. You sit at a diner, you sit at any cafe, wherever it is, and you put a pen to paper. You say, you know what? Fill this out for me. You don't even have to put your name to it. You don't have to put anything identifying. Just tell me whether or not you would vote to remove Jason Ravnsborg as attorney general. Overwhelmingly, I have no doubt the answer would come back. Absolutely, I would. So why is it that these lawmakers, as of right now, are too chicken to do the job when anyone that has been following this knows what is an easy decision in this whole case? A little bit of justice, just a little bit, besides a $1,500 fine because of what he did by being a distracted driver.